Hey guys, Josh here. Welcome back to the All Out Safaris podcast, your go-to podcast for all things safari. With me today is Shelby.
Hello everybody.
And today we've got a good episode for you. We're talking about why we love leopards. Leopards have become a bit of an icon for South African or African safaris because they one of the most sought after. Obviously, everybody wants to see your lions and your elephants and all your other animals, but leopards are considered globally to be very elusive, very, very shy, and one of your least commonly seen big cats, right? So we're going to share a bit of a personal moment about our first leopard sightings and why they've stuck with us.
So of course mine was in the Pilanesberg, and the first leopard sighting we had was December of 2017. This was when I saw a male leopard known as Orion. We were on a safari with a guy, and he was sort of involved in the leopard project in the Pilanesberg, and he knew pretty much where they were. So the one morning we were in, and we were driving towards the Pilanesberg center, and a guy stopped as he was coming past us, and he said there was a leopard in the road. So our tour guide was like, "Oh, cool, thanks," and sort of thought like, "Why are you here and not at the leopard sighting?" So we go further up the road, and yeah, there's Orion in the road for like to see all of his glory. And that's where I got my first very proud photo of Orion, so much so I have it printed on a canvas in my room. So that was that first sighting that imprinted on me, because it was the first proper leopard sighting we've ever seen in the Pilanesberg. It had been many years prior that my dad had seen one on those red rocks as you come in the Bakabung gate, but it was so far, and we didn't know the leopards. It was before the leopard project began, so it was many years, and it wasn't a good sighting. So now, however many years later, we saw Orion in the road, and that was the first sighting that I had that actually like imprinted on me, and that was when the bug bit that I realized how much I love these animals.
Yeah, so my very first leopard sighting was in the Kruger. The very first time I went, it was June or July 2014. And my dad and I went on an afternoon drive. We were staying at Skukuza. And we were, I think it was near the Alpha Loop, which is just off Skukuza on your way to Lower Sabi, on the Lower Sabi road. And there were a bunch of cars. And then the leopard just walked next to our vehicle and sort of went towards the Sabi River. So it was like quite a quick sighting, but I wanted to see more. And about a month later, we went to the Pilanesberg for the very first time. I think it was in like August, and we saw a female leopard like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, just sitting next to the road. But she was like a cub at that point, like a sub-adult. And today she's known as Khudisa, and she's now 11 years old. And she's both of our all-time favorite leopard. We've seen her the most in the Pilanesberg. We literally saw her a few weeks ago on our last Pilanesberg trip with our guests as well, which was really great to see her, considering she's 11 years old, and she was the first leopard we saw and the most recent one we've seen in the Pilanesberg as well. And I got a photo of her using my dad's camera, and we also got that printed because it was also my parents' first ever really good leopard sighting as well. So it was like just a really good moment. And then since then, it's always been about the leopards, and leopards have always been the main attraction.
But for us, leopards aren't just an animal. To see a leopard is a whole experience. And the biggest reason for that is because leopards are actually so very different from each other. There's no animal quite like a leopard.
When you see a leopard, there's a feeling that you get that can't really be explained. Like, you get an adrenaline rush with a lot of sightings that are super exciting, but there's something with a leopard that you can't explain, right? There's a sense of discovery, if you will, because there's this whole vibe around a leopard of how secretive they are. Leopards stick to particular kinds of habitats where lions you can usually find kind of anywhere. So sometimes you'll find them in thickets, sometimes you'll find them in an open area. But leopards, there's this, it feels very mystical. There's this mystical vibe
Yeah, it's like they live in a
around
whole
them.
other world
Yeah.
in the bush.
And, there's this whole vibe around them
Yeah,
that
their presence.
that has something about it, right? There's this attraction to it that we have, and I know a lot of other people have. Like, other predators are always incredibly exciting to see, but when you see a leopard, there's a feeling you get where you feel like you're in a completely different place. You're in a different world. You can see lions, let's say, in this particular spot one day, and you'll see a leopard there the next day, and it feels like you're in a different place. There's a demeanor. Their demeanor is just, it's so captivating that it's hard to explain. But they, with them being solitary as well, it's like this little single crown jewel that you'll find in the middle of nowhere. Pride of lions is a completely different vibe, and with leopards, because of how they are so elusive, some are shy, some are not. Every leopard is entirely different to one another, but they are elusive because they are solitary, right? It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. It's one of those where you've got to really work to find them, and you really need knowledge to find them. Yes, sometimes it could be someone's first visit to a park, they don't know where they're going, and they find a leopard. That's exactly what we did on our first trip to the Pilansberg. We were very lucky that we happened to find that leopard, and
yeah, it's just a fluke. It's not like we sought them.
And you do get that. But if you want to see them a lot, you want to see them frequently, you have to know where to go. You've got to have the knowledge. And this is also where having research of the leopards is also very important. There's a lot of parks and reserves that have leopard projects. So like the Sabi Sands, they have their own identification projects. Pilansberg have their own project. There's a project in the Kalahari, which is Karoo National Park, and Kalahari, they have their own leopard project. And then obviously Kruger, there's Central Kruger Leopards, which does Palabora to Olifants and Baluli and Sutara. And then you've got the Leopards of Malalan project as well. So being part of those research projects is a huge benefit, because you get to know which leopard is where. You get to know if that leopard is shy or not. You get to know their personalities, and every leopard is different. You can find, there's one leopard who we all loved called Aranyani. She hasn't been seen for 14 months. So we sort of fear the worst. But then her daughter, Luna, for example, doesn't particularly like cars, yet her mom really couldn't care about vehicles. So the personality ranges so much. You'll find, and the funny thing is, the big male leopards are the ones that tend to be shy, which makes absolutely no sense. And then the smallest female leopards are the ones who don't care. So there's a whole personality within each different leopard, and that's also what makes them special. I'm not saying other animals don't have their own personalities. You just notice it a lot more with leopards because of the fact that they are solitary and how hard you have to work to find them. Leopard sightings feel very intimate, very close, right? You feel really part of their world, where if you're seeing lions and cheetahs and stuff, it doesn't feel quite the same. It's almost like a fairy tale when you're with leopards.
But that's the thing, leopards are just so beautiful as well. They are completely different looking. You got spots on a cheetah, but a leopard has rosettes. That's totally different, and it's beautiful. So for us as photographers, it's like a photographer's dream, because when you're photographing a leopard, the contrast that you have because of their rosettes, their beautiful eyes. I mean, there's no eyes quite like a leopard eyes. So for us to photograph them is just one of our favorite things, and that makes part of why we love leopards, because they are so beautiful and so different to photograph. And just because of their environment that they live in, we often find them in trees or something. So photographing them in a tree with the leaves and the bark, just the colors, it's just so different than photographing like a lion in the grass, for example. So yeah, it's for us. We love it so much.
I also find that just on that topic, the variety of photos that you get with leopards
Yeah.
is also huge. Where lions, it tends to be lions sort of walking around sometimes on a termite mound, but leopards, you'll find them on a dead tree, right, scouting around. Sometimes in a marula tree or whatever. Sometimes on a termite mound, and every leopard also moves very differently. They all walk so differently, and every I found one thing I found, like if you look at lions and cheetahs, right, they've got amber eyes sort of as a over the whole board. But some leopards will have blue eyes. Some will have green eyes. Some will have the yellow eyes. Some will have grey eyes. There's a personality between every single leopard. Like leopards look so similar yet so different at the same time. And
then you get that very famous one that has that heterochromia, one blue eye and one, I think it's amber or whatever color it was.
And then there's a leopard in Pilanesberg, for example, called Shamiso. She's got these like really green eyes. Then that Arignani had the most insane yellow eyes. Like it was like yellow. And it's
Arignani's in the Kruger, or was in the Kruger.
Yeah, did I say Pilanesberg? But yeah, there's this vibe around spending time with a leopard, and it could be this, like there's a leopard near the BMET area of the Kruger called the Transport Dam male, conveniently nowhere near Transport Dam, but anyway, for some reason, anytime you find him, he is like drooling like nothing, right? Obviously, that's a sign of testosterone and things like that. And he's got this most nefarious looking face ever. He's got the black around his eyes is so thick as well. There's every leopard has there's a whole different demeanor. Like some lions are beautiful and some are less beautiful, and yeah, there's something about a leopard that you can't really explain. One thing we love though about leopard sightings as well is it really teaches you patience, right? As a photographer, you've got to be patient for anything, but leopard sightings particularly, because anything can happen at any moment, but sometimes you have to wait for hours. Like I've waited 9 hours before for at a sighting of a leopard sitting on a rock, but I knew the second he'd get up it was going to be unbelievable, and it was. But we waited for 9 hours for that, and I'm not saying you need to wait 9 hours all the time, but it teaches you patience like no other animal.
And for some reason, a leopard sighting like that, where I've often find myself waiting hours and hours for a lion sighting, just for it to turn out so disappointingly. You wait and you wait and you wait the whole day. You're getting sunburned, you're hot and you're sweaty, and just for the lions to get up and walk away into the bush. But for me, a leopard sighting has never been like that. A leopard sighting, for some reason, you wait for hours on end, but then you get rewarded for your patience. I don't know what it is about the difference now, but it's just, for me, a leopard sighting has always turned out to be such a reward in comparison.
I feel like even if a lion sighting doesn't end up disappointing, right? So let's say the lions do get up, the whole pride starts walking to you. But when you have a leopard gets up, starts jumping around the tree, comes down, you have all these different opportunities. It's always more action-packed, right? There's always this vibe when a leopard's moving around and gets up, and whatever. That is different. Yes, sitting at a leopard can be frustrating. On one of my recent Kruger trip, we had a leopard in a tree in the most unbelievable light, and we're waiting, but it never moved. It stayed there, and it didn't move. It opened its eyes for about 2 seconds and went back to sleep. And but that was a leopard that wasn't used to vehicles. I promise you, if she was more used to vehicles, because it was a female who's not seen very often, so obviously not as habituated to vehicles. She was just going to sleep there and wait. Next morning we went there because she had an impala in the tree. Went there, impala gone, leopard gone, and the impala was fresh, right? So yeah, it's the patience side of it is intense. Then another thing with leopard sightings is ethical guiding. Ethical guiding matters a huge amount with leopard sightings, sometimes more so than with other animals. Just leopard sightings are always very sensitive, right? So by ethical guiding, we mean about how do you respect the animal and the place you are in, right? So it could be making sure you are giving the animal enough space. So let's say you are following a leopard walking down the road. You don't want the front of your vehicle to be a meter behind the leopard. You want five meters or so, or more, depending on the leopard, because if a leopard's walking in the road, sometimes it's a leopard that doesn't like too many vehicles, so then you're going to give it a bit more space. If let's say it's a leopard that's come down from a tree and is now walking in the road and you can see it relax, then that leopard should allow you, to be a little bit closer than normal. Sometimes even will allow you to go around it and turn around so then you can photograph it from the front. We tend to do that whenever the leopard allows. But pressure also ruins sighting. So by that I mean putting too much pressure on the animal. So that could be getting too close, but could also be making too much noise, right? Usually leopards who are habituated to vehicles are used to the sound of a human voice, right? Because a guide is talking to its guests are talking to each other, enjoying the sighting. So it doesn't bother them too much. But now someone screams, you have a baby that cries, or someone accidentally presses the horn on their vehicle. That does happen from time to time. It's just a mistake some people make, but sometimes that can give the animal a fright, But usually, if animals are habituated to vehicles, you're not really going to have an issue. But the second you apply too much pressure to the animal, it can ruin a sighting, because sometimes the animal will just go off the road or just go further in to the bush, and that becomes a problem in places where you aren't able to off road. Another great thing about finding leopards and searching for them, especially if you've been on safari a few times, especially if you go on safari by yourself, is the way you learn to find leopards and the way you apply yourself and your knowledge, whatever knowledge you may have, you can apply that knowledge that you've learned, especially from spending time with leopards, finding leopards, looking for leopards, to any other animals, especially anticipating an animal's behavior in terms of maybe reading the sighting, reading how relaxed an animal is or how maybe not relaxed it is. You're able to apply that, and even photographically you're able to anticipate what the animal's going to do next, how to use whatever light is also available, but then also how to navigate a sighting, right? Leopard sightings tend to be quite chaotic, even if it's just one or two vehicles, just because it's like panic stations. Leopards now jump down the trees, walk into the road, so people panic. And if you're able to handle that, and you can apply all of those bits of knowledge to any animal sighting.
Yeah, so as you can tell, we love leopards and are very passionate about them, as well as passionate about hosting safaris. So if you want a safari that's built around moments like this, that's what we do. So please do reach out to us by clicking any of the links in the description. If you have any questions or comments or anything, please let us know. We'll see you in the next one.
Cheers.